Welcome to Hershey and the Keegs Show, starring pitcher Mark Hirschman and his personal catcher, Mike Keegan. Every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. live from the Governor's Comedy Club radio studio. Thanks so much for listening.
Talk about amateurism.
What's the matter?
I do hear we're cutting out a bit. Is that something that's going on?
Yeah,
my dad just texted me.
Yeah, it's back now.
Right,
I don't know. Okay. I don't know when we lost it, to tell you the truth.
All right,
probably at the Bra Boutique.
Probably right at the beginning is when I'm
Hi,
listening.
Mike. Your father's listening.
I'm
sorry, Mike. I can't.
Your best friend's listening.
It's definitely working now.
I don't have it.
All right,
tell him.
So can you ask?
Do you know that he responds with
hang on.
black emojis?
Because if we have to, these little children over here will shut their traps when I go to the advertisements again.
Well,
they saw the visual, so the advertisers.
No, that we need to have these are loyal people, and you two. I'll even ask you to step out of the room if I have to.
What's happening?
No, sometimes
we're brought to you by Christine's Condoms and
Paulie's Walnuts.
The sound is there now.
Yeah.
Okay,
but no, we didn't have it.
We didn't have it
during your sponsors.
All right. Watch.
You got to do this again.
We're brought to you by Spiffies of Uniondale.
So you have to read everything again.
Do you know how long that took? It took 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
And it's 2 minutes and 14 seconds. I'm never going to get back.
Start the hour now. Yeah. So you have
Charlie Blakeman's Condom Factory.
All right, you're going to shut your goddamn trap because I'm going to knock your teeth out. We're starting the audio from now. When you go ahead and release the YouTube, we'll cut right to the beginning right now, and we'll go from there. Is that right?
You want me to repost it? Because
I don't know.
It's live right now.
Oh, okay. Whatever you think.
Whatever you want.
We are here with Richie Byrne.
It's a well-oiled machine, ladies.
So I liked a lot more 7 minutes ago. I do love Richie Byrne, and it is an honor that we have him here. We don't know what you caught, what you didn't, because there was some crackling of the audio, which happens. This is what happens on live TV, right, Mike?
We're going live.
So we are going to go through this show without me strangling Mike at some point. We're happy to have Richie Byrne here, but before we talk to Richie Byrne about all there is to talk to Richie Byrne about, especially the question that people want to know, we are going to, for the first time this evening, discuss our sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
For the first time.
The great sponsors that we have.
Exactly. Pipe down you too. Okay. Now, the Herschy and Keegs Show is proudly sponsored by Demolition Specialists, 1-855-RIP-OUTS. The number you call for demolition, dumpsters, and fence rental. Family owned and operated for over 30 years. They are a fully licensed demolition contractor. Brought to you by Angela's Bra Boutique at 223 Main Street in Farmingdale. 516-249-6409. Personalized bra fittings providing a wide selection of brands, sizes, and styles. Also brought to you by Triple M Professional Painting and Construction. 516-395-6390. Family owned and operated for over 35 years. Call for your free estimate today and ask for James. By Impressions Dance Studio. Reach them at 516-735-0545. Take life by the hand and dance. 3103 North Jerusalem Road in Levittown. www.impressionsdancestudio.com. Sunray Services. Now is the best time to convert to hybrid heating and cooling. Call them today at 631-231-5533 or visit them online at www.sunrayservices.com. Minuteman Sewer and Drain. Minuteman Plumbing and Heating. Call 1-800-287-1772 for 24 hours a day, 7-day a week service, and ask for my friend Bill. American Restoration Solutions. When disaster strikes, they'll guide you to recovery. Call 516-662-9377 and ask for Senior Account Manager Keith Dunn. New View Construction, established in 2007, and are the people to call for the finest craftsmanship and all of your general contracting needs. Call 516-924-5627 and do it with confidence. And our brand new sponsor, Sip and Serve Waitress and Bartending Service. Elevate your next private party with the Sip and Serve Squad. Their awesome bar and wait staff will ensure your event will be unforgettable. Book now and let them handle the details while you enjoy the celebration. Call Jen at 516-528-6783. That is our list of Herschy and the Keegs sponsors.
Wow,
we're super proud to have. I know them all personally. They're wonderful companies, and make sure you let them know that Herschy and Keegs sent you. Speaking of Herschy and the Keegs Show, hey, Mikey, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Hersh. How are you today?
How's everything going with Richie Byrne over here?
Richie Byrne's doing well, our buddy Richie.
And, yeah, so the question that people ask a lot is, and you guys can answer this in the way that you want, but how do you each feel when you hear people discussing the fact that you two are lovers? What is it that I want to know? What are you embarrassed about it? Proud of it? What's the situation?
Proud of it.
Yeah,
We're absolutely proud of it.
You are.
You know,
lovers.
it takes a long time to build a relationship with somebody.
And it's been a strong relationship.
Yeah, thank you, Richard.
So what I'm always intrigued about is that you started doing comedy, Mike. About
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
When people really ask you that
Oh
question?
yeah. No, people think that you guys are lovers, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. What I'm always intrigued about is that Richie, you've been around. You've been doing stand up now for how many? 30.
Over 30 years.
30 something years. Mikey's only been doing comedy for 13, I think. 12, 13
a little over
years.
12, yeah.
12 years plus.
Really?
When Mikey started, he was a kid in his 20s probably at the
20,
time.
28, yeah.
You were already a well-established comic. You were already doing TV. You were doing warm-up acts. You were already a headlining comic. What drew you? Seriously, your friendship, it's an interesting one.
It's an easy answer. Alcohol.
Seriously.
It's true.
So, was it, what's that bar that Bill Morales says?
Bricks.
She works in New Bridge Inn.
New Bridge Inn. I thought it was New Bridge Inn.
It
No,
wasn't
not.
there, though. It was, it's Bricks now. Farrell's it used to be.
Oh, okay.
Who did you say?
Bill Morales, who used to have a podcast
right,
with
right.
Anthony
Lauren,
Domenico, his wife,
husband.
she
Right,
works
right.
at New Bridge.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that you
No,
guys
no,
hung
it
out at
was
New Bridge.
it was what was it called then?
It was called Farrell's when I
Farrell's.
worked there.
Okay, so
Right.
did you
ran
know
it
he
all-
was a comic at that point, or you just
Not really, and every time, because I would hang out at the Barrel Inn, which was closer to my house, and
Yep.
Richie was working there.
Right.
Every time I was there, somebody would be like, "Oh, you're doing comedy. You got to know Richie Byrne." I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know him." And then every time I was in there, somebody different was like, "You know Richie Byrne?" I'm like, "I haven't met him, but I know now that he's a comedian.
you know who he is, you know of him.
Now I know of him." And then
Yeah.
the same
I'll tell
thing
you what
apparently-
happened. It was actually 1 week. I was at a friend's son's confirmation or something. And a buddy of mine was there, and he said something about he said, you must know Mike Keegan. I go, no. And he goes, he's a comic. He's from East Meadow. I go, no, I don't know him. So 2 days later, my chiropractor goes, do you know Mike Keegan? And I go, no, but it's weird. Somebody
I know
else
the
asked.
name. Yeah.
Because his chiropractor was my next door neighbor.
Right.
Okay.
A couple of days later, somebody else brought him up. All in the same week. And then on a Sunday night, I was at Governor's. And I was leaving Governor's. I was going to go to hang out at the Barrel Inn. And somebody told me that week, this was all the same week, that, oh yeah, he bartends at Farrell's.
I did Sunday nights at
So
Farrell's for
were you
football.
literally just starting comedy then, Mike?
I was a month or two into comedy.
Okay, so-
And somebody said to me, I'm here. They said, what are you doing? I go, I'm going to go to this bar and see a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And they go, who, Mike Keegan? And I go, what? And he goes, Keegan works at Farrell's. I go, no, but I'm going to go see him. And I just walked in that night. And I go, you Mike Keegan? He's like, yeah. I go, I'm Richie Byrne. He's like, oh my God.
I'm like, oh my God.
Next thing we knew, it was 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. We were like
So-
talking comedy till 6:30 in the morning.
He
and,
got fired because he was giving away the alcohol.
So I was there for so long. I was trying to get comedy information from him. So I'm just giving him.
Plowing me with drinks.
I probably fed him a bottle of Jameson.
All kidding aside, though, obviously the alcohol helped, but was it the mutual love of comedy, or was it you that was a veteran comic seeing a young kid trying to do it? Was that
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was always, after that night, like his name kept popping up, and I heard he was at this open mic or that place, and
So
you
you-
were working with Gallo a lot.
I was working with Gallo McNeil, and that's another time. Like probably the second time I met you was when we were doing. It was Johnny Malone's in Wantagh,
Right.
And you saw Gallo was going to be there,
And I
you
stayed.
were there with Cindy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you liked the fact that he was hustling? That
Yes.
was you liked
That's
the fact
very
that he was hustling.
important.
And I liked
me.
learning from.
Yeah.
How much of a blessing is it? You're starting out
Yeah.
in comedy, and you really become. You get a close relationship with a guy that's been doing it for 30 years.
It's very uncommon that would happen.
Yeah.
That someone would take you under their wing so quickly. Obviously, the fact that you guys live in the same area, same bars, and so forth didn't hurt the matter. But the fact that you needed a mentor, he almost not that you were looking for a mentee, you were not, but it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, I had it with Joey Cola
okay.
and a few others, but I think it happens naturally. I think, let's face it, when you're a headliner, people say, hey, you want someone to open for you.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
going to go, oh, wait, Keegan's cool, and he'll drive, and blah, blah, blah. So I'll go with Keegan. Like,
Yeah.
hey, are you free? And a lot of it is that. You know?
I find it very interesting, and Mike and I talk about this all the time. But how in this wacky world of comedy, how you do kind of magnetize towards certain people. For me, in the 14 years since I started doing it, I become very close with Monty. Is obviously a very close friend of mine.
Chris Monty.
Chris Monty, the tall with the nose, that guy. Half Walker Bales. I mean, obviously started in the class. Carrie Carravis. And those are the people that I want to be around. And you guys, aside from the lover thing, you like being around each other. You like being his family adores you. No,
I adore them. I love them.
Yeah. So
they're wonderful people.
I think
I can live without his girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, you know.
But I'll wake up. Or I'll get a phone call. I'll wake up next to Richie. I'll be like, "Good morning, good morning. What are we doing today?"
I want to hear you laugh.
No, I'll wake up from text messages. My dad's like, "Where's Richie? Is Richie available?" Because my dad is retired and he's working part time.
Sure.
So my dad likes to. That's like his best friend now.
Yeah.
So. Isn't that cool though? How like you go through your whole life. You were 30 years old. You had all your friends and the Peter Matthews and the Tims and all these
and Charlie Blakeman and
the
Jay
Blakemans
Dugans
and all those guys. And all of a sudden you have a new group of people in your life. So it's me and then Richie and it really this comedy thing
different
is
lives.
It's a whole nother life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just an unbelievable thing. You guys do have a wonderful bond.
What I love about comedy is that like you can go years without seeing somebody.
Yeah.
And then you, like the other day, Jeff Garland was here. And his wife and I, she's his ex-wife now, but they're still really close. But she and I did theater together in the 80s.
Wow.
Believe it or not, we were in Rhode Island and we were really good friends. And then she moved out to LA and met Jeff, got married, had kids.
Yeah.
Lost contact with me, but I kept. She and I would go when Jeff was playing Caroline's. I'd go, and I'd be like Jeff, and he, Richie Burt. So like I hadn't seen him in years. So boom, Jeff,
like
Richie.
that.
Oh my God, what's up?
Yeah.
And we hung out. Like I think that's really something I love about comedy.
Yeah.
More than anything is you can go. You might work with someone on a cruise ship and not see him again for.
It's not
especially like when you're a headliner though, because like you build these bonds with guys when you're coming up, and then you're headliners and you're both working every weekend.
Right.
And you go years and you can go a decade without seeing him. Peter Bales was telling me a good story the other night. We're hanging out and he's telling me a story about Chris Rush and Bobby Collins. And Bobby Collins apparently stole a joke from Chris Rush.
Oh, no.
Chris Rush found out, and they're all working at Rascals one night. And Chris Rush had heard, but they hadn't seen each other in many years, but they knew each other very well. And now Chris Rush is pissed knowing that Bobby Collins is telling his joke. So Chris Rush goes up to the bar to order a drink, and the bartender goes, "What do we want?" And he goes, "Anything that stains." And he goes up, she gets him this bright red drink, and he just goes up to Bobby Collins and spills it all over him right before his set. Yeah,
so I
throws it all over him.
I've never had any dealings with Bobby Collins, but I did get a chance to know Chris Rush a little bit through Joe Starr went right before Chris Rush passed.
Speaking of lovers,
and I thought Chris Rush was the coolest. Like he was the coolest dude.
Guy.
Yeah, we would like text back and forth.
Very sad. I was very sad when he passed. He was just a wonderful comic. Just so brilliant. And just a great guy.
One of those guys, and Richie, you can certainly talk about it more, but the style of comedy is really, I don't think you can compare his style to almost anybody.
No.
Totally unique.
Yeah.
And not the kind of guy who would be stealing jokes, because no one really could do I don't think you can do the comedy that Chris Rush did the same way if you're another comic.
No, it's definitely was lent to his personality.
Yeah. Incredible. Let's talk a little bit about.
Let's talk a little bit. Is that a young Adam Sandler on your shirt?
Oh, you noticed my shirt. Oh, that's nice. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
That's a really young.
The story behind. Thank you for noticing. This shirt was a few weeks ago. Stacy's sorority sister, they have a huge party out at her house in Manorville every year, and it's a different costume party, like Tex-Mex party, whatever you call it, Taco Bell. This year was an 80s theme, and I don't like getting all dabbled up. I don't like wearing costumes.
Up, yeah.
So what I did was, as an 80s theme, I put on a picture of myself from the 80s, and I put it on a shirt. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that's
him.
me in the 80s, 1989, I think this was.
Oh, my
And I
God.
put it on a shirt.
Look at
and,
that young stud on your shirt there.
Yeah, a little earring in there.
I have the matching underwear.
Yeah, thank you.
Cute
very
little
much.
Jewish kid.
Yeah, I was adorable. I was Valley Stream South Class Cutest, 1989. Thank you very much for noticing, Michael.
You're
Being
very welcome. It looks
perceptive.
like a little Max in the
Yeah,
face
that's
right
my
there.
little man right there. That's Mark David Hirschman.
Mark David Hirschman.
18 years old.
good years.
Look at
He's
that.
18 years
Yeah,
old,
it
the
was.
fuck?
It was, yeah. What I do want to talk about...
Look at that close up on Mark's face. The fuck.
Yeah. So I do want to know, like, so right now you're a headliner. You're still a warm-up show act for Dr.
No,
Oz.
no.
That's
Dr. Oz.
Oh, Dr. Oz is working for Trump now.
He's a little busy. Yeah,
He's busy, okay.
He got appointed today to Trump's cabinet.
we had a very interesting show a few weeks ago. We had Sandy Hackett on, and obviously Buddy Hackett was, my guy always. And I've had intermittent contact with Sandy over the years, and he told us so many great stories about how Buddy helped him get into comedy. I'm always intrigued as to how someone started. What made you start? When did you start? What was your inspiration as to starting comedy?
Me? It was. I was always. I was in theater. I had a degree. I have a degree in theater, and people would always be like, you're really funny. You should do comedy. You should do comedy.
Yeah. Why do you have to say that? He's
sorry.
a question.
Terrible problem.
He's a terrible person.
And so I really was like, I can't get up in front of an audience, and I just didn't think I could do it.
But you were doing theater, though. Different type of thing.
But it's
yeah,
totally
yeah.
And then I had an ex-professor say, listen, anything you do is going to help you get seen by agents. It's going to help you.
Theatrically wise.
Yeah,
you're
he's like,
about,
if people are, he does comedy too. That's going to be a help to you. You should.
Sure.
And I literally, I'm one of the few that I know. I was like, I'll do this for a year. And
that's it.
And hopefully I get an agent. And then I realized when I got in it, wow, this is a lifelong.
So what age, are you talking 18 years old at this time? What time?
No, I was probably around 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a little bit later than usually I hear. Okay.
Yeah. I was older when I started. But I'd been doing theater.
Richie on The Sopranos there?
I hate you, Tony.
So were you a working actor or not really at that point?
I was doing a lot of regional theater and stuff like that.
So you were a working actor.
Yeah.
And you might have had another gig, but you were making money.
Yeah, and I
acting.
always thought, I'll just do this on the side. And I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know how comedy worked.
Right.
And I started going open mics in the city. And what happened was I did it a couple of times and then stopped because I got busy. I got in a play and I was busy with that.
Okay.
So like a year went by. And then a guy I went to high school with called me and said, hey, Stand Up New York is doing this it's called The Funniest Person in Staten Island. That's where I grew up. And he said, and he had been doing comedy. And he said, you should go down and try and get on. And I did. And I won the whole thing. Nice. And the funny thing is this is a great story. You know this story. And Tony probably knows this story. So every week they had like 4 contestants on a Monday. And you had to be from Staten Island. And I did the last week. So it was 10 weeks. And then whoever won each week went up against each other in a big at the end.
Sure.
And so there were 10 contestants. When they finished the 10 contestants, every week they'd have like a headliner go up and do like a half hour for the audience. So the audience got a real show.
Right. Not just you guys.
Yeah. And when the final week, when the finals, the headliner that went up was Ray Romano.
Oh, wow.
And he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And years later,
everybody loves Raymond.
Oh no, I heard of it. There was a micer. Yeah.
Years later, I went to a play that Ray was in with Gary Valentine, and Gary, we met up with Ray after, and Ray's going to me, we worked together before? I go, no. He's like, are you sure? I go, no. He goes, it drove him crazy. Finally, he goes, are you sure? And I go, well, you closed out a contest. And he goes, you're the funniest guy from Staten Island. I don't know why he remembered that.
That's amazing.
You're the funniest guy in Staten Island.
Oh, wow. Oh, Mikey.
Wow. That was awful.
No, that wasn't bad.
No, it was terrible.
No, that wasn't terrible.
Kermit the Frog?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
It was Patrick Mahomes.
Wow, that was not terrible.
Not bad.
No,
I've
I'm
been
proud of
working
you.
on that. I was hoping he would tell us
You're
stories.
bringing
I could
shit to
do
the
my- I've been
table,
working on
man.
that. Yeah,
We were just looking
But
for
I
a guest to
remember-
let you do that impersonation.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him that night, and I remember going, "Oh my god, this is comedy!" Like,
Yeah.
he was just that good. It's like, wow, this guy's great.
And over the years, and you're a humble guy, you have morphed into a killer. I've seen you perform many times. You're a super strong comic. Is the thrill the same for you now, 30 years later, when you go ahead and you bury a crowd? Do you still get that feeling, that crazy feeling that we get when we do well on stage? Is it still the same for you?
No, and that's a great question.
It's not the same for you.
No, I don't think it is.
Wow. Why do you think that is?
Because I just think that. Because he's a prick.
No, do you get desensitized to it?
I guess you do. I mean, I do miss. I remember, and you guys probably had this too. Well, not you, Tony, but when you
Definitely not Tony.
When you're starting out, and you kill one night, and
Yeah.
you just cannot sleep. Remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe.
So, it's so funny you say that, because I always tell the story about my first time on stage for my graduation show. 6 minutes, awful stand up, but the Governor's was packed. I had 100-something people here, and there's video on YouTube from July of 2010, and people screaming, and my late father in the front row, and like. I never went to sleep that night. I just stayed up.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking, wasn't smoking, nothing. And I first time I ever felt that, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like it ran through
It's
you.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I
so-
miss that. But you lose. I mean,
Do you still have it to some extent, or is it
to
just
some extent. I'll tell you a funny story. About 20 years ago, I was going through.
You don't have to
maybe
just.
more.
We'll gauge if it's funny. You tell us, and we'll tell you if it's funny. Because so far, not so much.
I was.
No, just tell us the story.
I was at Dangerfields. I was not. I was going through one of those. Why am I doing this? This sucks. I hate this job.
How long ago was this?
About 20,
About 20 years ago.
Oh, wow,
You
okay.
just said
Probably
Yeah, I wanted-
25. Probably 25.
So you're only in 5 years, 8 years, whatever at the
10
time.
years.
Okay.
So I'm at Dangerfields, and I was talking to a comic who's since passed, Jerry Diner, who was a great guy, and I was saying to him, and he was older, and I'm like, I'm tired of this, man. I'm tired.
Wow.
And I went up and I did my act, and I walked off, and I'm at the bar, and he comes over and goes, "That's why you do it." And I looked, and the crowd was still applauding, and I didn't even notice it. And I remember going, "Oh shit, I need to pay attention to that." And he goes, "This is why you do it, dude." And I was like, so that helped me a lot, but I still don't have that rush that you had, because now it's your job. Now
So
it's different.
Yeah.
Jerry Diner wanted you to acknowledge the fact that these people were clapping that you left the station.
No, shut up, Keith.
So, do you?
But that's the thing. Now it's like you're expected to get that reaction.
Yeah.
When you were coming up, you didn't expect to get that reaction. Like, oh my god!
Oh my
just
God.
made a room full of strangers laugh. And
Yeah.
but I mean, it's still. It's
I mean, I'd like to sit here and say it. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of comics. Oh no, it's the same film. It's not. Come on, how can it be?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if
It's like
it
heroin.
is.
You chase that original.
Yeah,
but
you're
I wonder
chasing
if
that
there,
monkey.
if there
Chasing that
are.
monkey.
I mean, I see road comics who were in their 70s who were on ships, and my assumption is they have enough money to survive. But why are they still chasing it? What is it, because of they're chasing that feeling, or is it financial, or are they just
I
they
think
can't
it's
stop?
Definitely financial.
And that's it. You don't think it's that they just want to. Robert Klein's still out there at 70-something years old. It's not financial for him anymore. Or people like that. They're just they can't live without that feeling. I mean, you don't think that for you? Obviously, it's probably not.
I
the
don't know,
case.
because I mean, I'm telling you this, but yet I'm also telling you that if I'm 75 and not doing this, let me know, because I would be. I mean, so
yeah. So there's got to be.
There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But it's just not. Maybe it's just not the same.
Okay.
As it was then. That excitement.
I think it's one of those things. If you still have the ability to do it, you're always going to kind of do it, whether it's financial
Yeah.
or not.
You don't know many
Jerry
comics that
Seinfeld doesn't need
retire.
to.
Right.
Yeah,
Jerry
Jerry
Sein-
Seinfeld.
He doesn't need to get up at Gotham on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
you know?
but he does.
Yeah. What when you first started out, was it?
I'd love to hear his. That's some.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to know. Why do you do it? Why? I know why. At least I think I know why I'm doing it, because I still have to work.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I didn't
No,
need the money, I'd still-
again, there
I
are
remember
plenty of-
back before I was really established. I was dating this girl who was also a comic. This is in like early '90s, and she said to me, "If you hit the lottery tomorrow, and never had to work again, would you still do comedy? I go, absolutely. And she goes, see, I wouldn't. And I said, then you should quit.
So when you
And she
said that
did.
to Rosie O'Donnell,
I thought it was Rosie O'Donnell. Turned out it was you.
Hey-o! I love that.
and now I'm going to quit. That's
But
it.
interesting, though, your answer at that point, you answered so quickly. Would you answer the same way tomorrow if someone said that to you?
I would.
Yeah.
I would still do it, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think I get that rush that you got.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't. I tell you what, Hersh, I'd probably go 6 months and not do a thing, and then go, I gotta
go back.
Stage. Yeah.
When you did start out, your support, your family, whoever was part of your life at that point, were they like, you fucking becoming a comic? Like, what was
By the way, you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
I see what
I'm taking it all in.
He does it. Don't worry. He's doing his role.
Well, he's busy getting
Yeah.
all those sponsors.
That's right. That's right.
He's in the bra place every day.
Who was the support team at the time? You weren't married at the point? No.
I didn't have. There was no support team. My parents were funny because my mother, they didn't get it. Like, I remember when I said, I didn't even tell my parents I was doing stand up because when I went to them and said, I'm going to try to do stand up. And they thought,
Like what?
so now you just went 10 years being an actor or trying to be an actor, and now you're just going to give it all up. I go, no, I'm not giving it all up. It's not how it works.
It's part
not
of
like
the-
it's not like I was a garbage man. Now I'm going to med school.
Yeah.
You know. So, but I went to my parents and I go, I think I'm going to try and do stand up. And my mother's like, I don't understand you, man. I just don't know. She's like, you know, you did all these plays for all these years for no money. You're finally making money. Not a lot, but you're finally working. You're getting a reputation. Now you're going to give it all up and do that? My father goes, besides that, you're not funny. And I remember, it's like that made me die.
That's
just
amazing.
killed me.
What was so you had a day gig. What did you do?
Bartending.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
and you're a musician too. I mean, obviously.
I'm a
Singer.
singer. I mean, I play a little piano.
Like
Okay.
an angel.
So you're like a Renaissance man, kind of like a Haft, like the drummer and
Yeah.
same
I'm
type
like
of
We
thing.
call him the Richie Haft of East Meadow.
I'm like a funny Haft.
A funny version.
Did I say
of
Richie Haft, by the way?
Richie Haft. Yeah.
I think that hurt me in ways.
Being like Eric Haft?
Having other options.
Yeah.
Because they're, you know, even now, like to be, hey, go do a play. Okay, now, like I don't know that I always stayed focused enough in either way. You know,
Gotcha.
You know, I've seen sets of yours where you incorporate the singing, and stand up is a performance, so you're
Yeah.
incorporating everything of it into your stand up act.
when I was younger, I did a lot of singing in
Yeah.
my act, and then I started to realize that I was getting a reputation as a guitar act. I didn't even have a guitar. Boss used to go, "Where's your guitar? Where's your guitar?" And then one day he goes, "Do you even play guitar?"
Yeah.
No.
guitar.
So I kind
I-
of dropped the music.
From
stuff.
knowing Richie as long as I have, I think, from my opinion, his passion is the stage theater. I think that's more so than stand up or.
That's interesting.
I think
anything else.
performance is my passion.
I think performance is, but I think I
Porn.
see Richie get more
Yeah.
and porn. But I see Richie get more excited when he's working on a play or writing. I think there's more creativity involved in there too.
Yeah.
Interesting. So,
But
you
I mean,
weren't-
phenomenal comic, probably one of the best
He's a
comics I've
killer.
ever worked with, and but I think he loves the theater and the.
So, Richie, you were not the prototype. Like most comics, if I say to them, well, what, you know, I loved Pryor, I loved Robert Klein. It wasn't like that for you. You weren't following the path of, you know, a
I'm
Rickles
amazed
or
that
something.
almost every comic I meet is like, yeah, I knew when I was 5.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even, you know,
Yeah.
you know what I
knew when
mean?
Path.
I knew when somebody made me be the funniest man on Staten Island.
Yeah. I mean, I never really.
Yeah, so you kind of fell.
Yeah,
not fell ass backwards into it, but it wasn't the road you were looking to do. It's
I
just
just
the road
remember.
you went on.
I remember
It's good.
my best friend coming up to me and going, "Listen," he goes, "I don't know why you're doing this, but you seem to have like a passion for it, so you should really go for it." And I did.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And the funny thing is, I started making money pretty much 6 months after I
Which
got
is
serious
really
about it.
not, because Mike's 13 years in, and it's like almost
The
happening.
one thing the guy didn't teach me.
Right. That's right.
I came in at the tail end of the boom.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I remember
That's what
remember
Richie
headliners.
was telling me. He's like, I was like 3 or 4 years in. He's like, by the time I was 3 or 4 years in, I'd been on TV. I'm like, yeah, there were 4 comics back then there.
Yeah,
though.
different
No,
situation.
that's not true. Shut up.
Well, so
I was that good. You
that brings me to the point, and I know I've heard, like, I remember Joe DeVito once said to me, that was when I had 15 minutes, I had heat on me. Was there a time?
No, where I no.
No, well, so that you don't think there was a time you had heat on you at all?
No.
Even when you were on TV? What was the TV stuff? What was the...
It was, day player on Sopranos and Sex and the City and stuff.
Okay.
But no, there was one. No, that's back in '98.
Okay.
I was in an off-Broadway show that was a musical that was supposed to go to Broadway, and I did a guest appearance on Rosie O'Donnell's show that day.
Okay.
So I went from the Rosie O'Donnell show to the theater to do this off-Broadway show, and I remember going, "This is it. It's finally happening.
It's going to happen."
And 6 months later, I woke up on a cruise ship and went, "What happened?" It was gone. Like, it all went away.
So people should be aware who are watching. There are so many road warriors that are out there who have not had heat on them per se, who have made a lifetime of being a stand-up comic on cruise ships, road gigs, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Milwaukee, and they've made a living out of it. So
sure.
you do not have to be famous to be a great comic.
No. It's changed a lot now. People in the 80s and 90s went to comedy clubs just because. Mm-hmm. They didn't care who the comic was.
Sure.
Now it's like you got to be a TikToker. I got to know the person.
You got to be a draw. You got to be a TikToker.
Yeah, so
YouTuber.
it's changed. But there's still a lot of private shows. I don't do many clubs anymore. I do a lot of, private shows, like charity events and things like that.
Small theaters.
Small theaters. Yeah, I love theaters. I love theaters so much.
It's like you can get a TV gig and that now, and it means nothing. Because it's not going to be all the following that you have.
Yeah.
I was doing a show. I'm with Mike Somerville. You were a good friend with Mike
Yeah.
Somerville,
Right.
great
Love
comic,
Mike.
and I'm with him in the city at Greenwich Village Comedy Club one night, and the night before he did his first Letterman.
So
And it's
Go ahead,
awesome, and I'm just like, dude, you were on Letterman last night. That was awesome. You were great. He's like, yeah, I was on Letterman last night, and then I just took a subway to do a show here in front of 4 people with you.
So
That's
amazing. The same thing happened to me years ago. I was on a show on a Saturday night with Moody McCarthy, and the night before he was on Letterman, Eddie Brill, the whole thing. Yeah. And he was featuring at Governor's the next night. He wasn't even headlining. So certainly
Moody's tremendous.
Tremendous.
I've been friends with Moody. A very
terrific guy. But I remember grilling him, being a Letterman nut since I'm a little kid, just grilling him about the process and still having a hard time understanding how he was at the Brokerage Comedy Club, with a wonderful place, don't get me wrong, but certainly when you're thinking of Letterman on CBS on a Friday night, you're thinking that this guy is going to be at MSG or whatever.
Yeah. And there were times where that was the case, but not in the last 30 years. I mean, nobody cares anymore.
Isn't that something?
How many hits do you get is everything. Yeah. Even the shows now, they're not going to put a comic on unless he has millions of followers and stuff.
I was talking to a club owner who's headlining somebody who's never done stand-up. They have a huge following because they do like these food reviews. I go to the owner. I'm like, what do they do on stage though? It just goes, you know what they do? They fill up my seats. That's what they do.
But,
like, right,
but when they get on stage, what do they do though?
I know, but you can't argue with that.
But I know, and we're not going to mention name, but you've been asked, I know for a fact, to do more time on shows sometimes when opening for viral people who can't carry the show enough, and you've had to fill in, and someone's in the back doing this, so that you do a little bit more time, because
or I've had to switch with them, and end up closing.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, that's part of the problem for me now is, I don't have a following. I don't have a social media following. I don't even want. I don't know how to do it. It's too much work for me. I don't know where to start, and so a club will go, well, you don't have a following. All right, well, let me middle for that guy. No, you're too strong in the middle. So
and then they don't want you to middle for them because they can't follow you.
The game has totally changed, and we've talked about this on the show. We talked about it with Sandy Hackett, that I also got to know through Joe Starr, Max Alexander, before he passed. A few years.
I hope you knew him before he passed.
Yeah, since then. He doesn't talk a lot. But the one story, the first time I spoke to Max on the telephone, he told me that the one appearance that he made on Carson got him gigs for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years from one appearance on Johnny Carson, where nowadays
appearance.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore though. So you're on Letterman or Leno.
I
or
did
whatever.
V8, but not comedy. One of the shows back in '94 with Max, and I remember hanging out with him, and he said that.
Yeah.
He said, "I've had a whole career based on doing the Tonight
Isn't
Show."
that something? And now it means almost nothing. That if you're on Fallon or if you're on Kimmel, it's just another.
But
someone else.
if you are on Fallon or Kimmel, it's because you already have a following now. It's not the days of Ed Sullivan going, "Here he is, Richard Pryor," and boom, you blow up, or it's over. That's gone.
Yeah.
You have to make your own way now. And I mean, that's fine. It is what it is, but there are guys.
Say it.
I open for somebody who is viral, and I didn't take the pedal off, the foot off the pedal.
Nope.
I thought, why'd I do that? And I realized because I still needed to know that my 20 years of killing myself mattered. Right. The 10 years, the open mics and going, that still counted for something.
And no one's going to you, hey, Richie, take your foot off the gas so this guy can't follow you.
Right.
I mean,
no one said it to me that night, and the guy couldn't have been nicer. Yeah. It was like, wow, he goes, I heard he said to me, I heard you're amazing, and now I know it. So he didn't, and I remember going, he's a nice guy. Why'd I do that? But that's why I did it, because I needed to show to myself. But he couldn't follow me, and it was his people, and he couldn't follow me.
And you did it because that's your job. You're a comic.
Right.
You're a stand-up comic.
But
why
should you can, I've worked with guys.
No, Mike is always pulling back when I see him perform. I'm like, when are you going to just give it all?
One of these days, I'm really just going to...
Just let loose one time. Let them see you really just knock it out of the park.
I know, but you gotta look out for these other guys.
Don't worry about the other people. Every single show. He's a giver. It's like, just let them see you.
I'm like, Richie's got to follow me. I'm not...
Yeah, that's interesting. That you had almost like quasi bad feelings, like you were questioning yourself, like, did I just do something wrong?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
that was mean, and that was.
But it wasn't. Though.
You're right. I gave those people a show.
Yeah,
that's what I'm paid to do.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand if someone said, "Hey, listen, we want you to do 10 minutes. Just chill a little bit because we want this guy to." But no one said that. You just did it, and and hopefully it led to further bookings for you.
The other thing that, as a headliner, I used to hate when a headliner would go, "Don't do this bit," because I do it.
Yeah.
I
even
found that so
similar. Don't talk about this subject.
Yeah, don't talk about this subject. And I would be like, "No, dude, you're getting paid more than me to deal with that."
Yeah.
And so I've never done that. And I worked with Colt when I first started in the business. I was at Grandpa's at Staten Island, and it was like 1991, and Cola had just won a big contest in Atlantic City.
Well, you won funniest guy in
Staten Island. Well, similar areas.
It was close to the same.
Yeah.
And Kohler was the headliner, and I only had 15 minutes at the time.
Yeah. 35 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to do 20. I had to do 15 up front and 5 in the middle. I was the MC, and everyone who I knew was like, comics are assholes. Be careful. Watch out for this. Blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I do my show, and then Joey gets up. And he does the same premises that I had. Like, he had, because he had other premises. But just about everything that I touched on in that 15 minutes, Joey had something about, right? And I'm like, shit, he's going to tell me not to do my bits, and I'm not going to have anything tomorrow to do.
Yeah.
So he comes up to me after the show, and I'll never forget it. And he goes, hey, we got a lot of the same bits. I go, yeah. And he goes, do yours. Yours are funnier. I'll never forget that.
That's very cool. That's very
generous.
And then I noticed that the next night he still did the bits, but he would go, Richie was talking about blah blah blah. You know what I hate? And we discussed it, and he was like, we could take this bottle, and you could write a joke, and I could write a joke, and it's not going to be the same joke, but it's about the same bottle.
Right.
And that was Joey's point. And Joey said to me, when you're the headliner, it's your job to make it work no matter what. It's not, and I've always lived by that, and that was one of my first gigs and after that I would run into headliners going, don't talk about this, don't talk, and I'm like, up yours.
So the bottom line is, how many generous comics like a Joey Cola have you encountered over the years compared to the shitbags who do what they do and say don't do this or don't do this? What's more? Is there more Joey Colas or more?
Well, there's been more back. there was more, don't do this, don't do that. But I
Yeah.
think it was more because there were guys who probably said, oh, he's doing the kind of same bit. I'm going to have to fix that.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean that they just weren't saying to me, hey, hey, you could do it too. It just happened that happened with Joey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I've seen guys do bits and I'm going, shit, all right. I either have to drop that from my act
Right.
or I have to find a way to get it in without it sounding like.
Yeah, Mike's always got to try a way to get it in. Also,
I usually do.
I'm always intrigued, and Mike and I have talked about this, and I'm certainly not going to mention any names here, but when there are comics who are saying things like, don't do this bit, or I demand to headline, there's an episode that happened years ago where I saw a comic say, I need to headline, and I thought I was headlining, and this person should feature, and I should headline. And the person who featured went out, and I mean the mutilation was it was unbelievable, and nobody was going to follow him. But watching that, I wondered at the time, like, is this guy who's closing now saying, I fucked up, like I should have just left it the way it was going to be, instead of me standing on principle and saying, no, I'm going to close. And then they had to work uphill, and they just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
They couldn't get there. So why do people do that? I guess
I
it's
did a
just
show years ago in Syracuse, and the other comic on the show had set the show up. And the guy from the club in Syracuse booked the show. So when I got to the gig, the booker was like, we got a problem. I go, what? He goes, he wants to go last. And I'm like, all right. He goes, listen. I go, well, what happens with the pay? He goes, no, I'm still going to pay you the
Pay
same.
same, yeah.
I go, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, okay. I go, why would I care?
Right.
So the guy comes up and goes, man, they're all my people. I don't think you're not going to want to follow me. And I go, all right, man, whatever. So he walks away, and the booker turns to me and goes, can you do me a favor? And I go, what? He goes, can you bury him?
I love that.
And I go, oh, absolutely. And this guy, and I walked off, and the guy goes, oh, shit. I remember he was like, he knew he couldn't.
And it's too late now.
It's too late now.
You stepped in shit.
Go play to your family that I just destroyed.
Exactly.
It's not going to
That's
work.
what happened to me recently, but in my case, I had to switch with the headliner.
Yes.
And do more time. Now I'm closing out this show, and I'm doing more time, and he's still getting the paid headliner
That's great.
money.
That's
and I'm
ridiculous.
just getting paid middle money.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
But that was different,
And
though.
I
You
know
did
who ran that show, and I understand
But
it.
Exactly.
You were doing a solid for a good guy, though. That's a little bit of a different
good
situation.
guy. That's
though.
why I switched with him.
Yeah.
And the guy who's running the show could have done the right thing and thrown me a little bit more money
Yeah.
because the other
That guy has never done the right thing.
exactly. But the other guy that was running the show goes up to me afterwards. He goes, "That was the right decision, though, because he wouldn't have been able to follow you. At
Yeah.
all. Like it wouldn't. Have, it
Yeah,
wouldn't
you
have
could have been a
went
dick,
well.
and there would have been no reason to be a dick.
Yeah.
But you could have been, and there's a lot of
Exactly.
comics who would have saying,
Yeah.
"I'll do it, but you got to give me another $75
Yeah.
or whatever," and you could have done that. It's funny. I love what Richie said because I've seen this happen from, again, talking about people that I love in the business. Downey is one. I was in Saratoga a couple of summers ago. I was on vacation, and Kevin was doing that. What's it? The Saratoga. What's
Comedy
the one?
Comedy
Works.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was doing his residency at the time. He was there for the whole summer. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just there with my buddy betting horses, whatever, and he's like, "All right, come down and hang out." And he came to me. I was in the audience having dinner, and he's like, "Listen, do you want to do some time?" And I'm like, "I'm having dinner with my buddy here." I said, "Don't you have to do a certain amount of time?" He's like, "I'll do 10 minutes. I don't care."
Downey
He's like,
loves
Downey
guest
loves it.
spots.
But he's like, Hersh, he's like, just do like 15, 10. And I'm like, Kev, I'm sitting here drinking, having dinner. Like, I'm not going on stage right now.
Downey
He
loves
it.
10 comics
Oh,
drop down.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same way.
Yeah.
How
Downey's
little
like-
do I have to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's because it's just because you've been doing it for so long and you don't need to?
I don't need the
You don't need to do 25.
You know
if
what
they
I
tell
do
you
now?
25.
I shouldn't say this, but I'll do a show, right? And like, if the opener's supposed to do 20 minutes and he does 23, well, that's 3 minutes coming off of my end.
exactly.
And then if the middle act's supposed to do 30, he does 35. Well, now I'm at -8.
Isn't that amazing?
Because it's the same amount of time and you get less of me.
We just did a show recently, and it was a killer show. Remember, it was me, you, Tim Crompier, and Downey.
That's a
Just
great show.
killer show.
It's a
and
great
Downey's
show.
got to go up last, and he's just telling everybody, just do more time. Because Downey wants to do like 10 minutes, but then Downey ended up having fun.
Yeah, they love
and
it.
he didn't want to get off
didn't wanna get
stage.
off.
Right.
He ended up doing 45
He
full
would
minutes.
not get off the stage.
Yeah, because
So-
it was a fun crowd.
I have been in situations where it's been a long show and the headliner only had to do 10 or 15 minutes, but the act before the headliner murdered, and now the headliner doesn't want to get off until they murder also.
Right.
So is that a thing for you?
That's like
if
that's
you,
when we work
no,
together. No, oh yeah.
It's you don't. I mean, as long as you're doing well, you don't need to fight to you don't care.
Especially like here on a Thursday.
Yeah.
When there's 17 comics.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then the last 2 are actually working comedians.
Yeah, yeah. You might
And then-
get like Matt Burke and Keegan or something
Right,
like
and
that.
then,
yeah.
And then you have to, I'm like, yeah, this audience is done. I'll do the best I can, but I don't
Yeah.
what am I going to do? You just put up 17 comics and the last 2 were like
yeah.
Keegan.
And so you're in the check spot. That people are getting tired.
Yeah.
Been here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You're okay, doing well, doing your 10, 15 minutes, and you're good.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. I think that's the veteran in you. I don't think that you would have answered the same 25 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely different answer.
Yeah. Isn't that fantastic?
Like I want to do time. Like I'm doing a show. I'm doing a show this weekend, getting paid very, very good money, and they're like, do 10 minutes. I'm like, 10? You pay me that much to do 10 minutes? I'm like, I want to do 30 minutes, you know? Like, and it's, you know.
But it's because you're newer compared to, I mean,
Right.
13 years.
You're trying to get a reputation.
Yeah.
You know, once you have the reputation, you're like, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
You're paying me, right? So
Yeah.
what the hell with it.
That's really amazing.
The shows I loved the most, that I missed the most, I used to pretty much do Dangerfields all the time and go in every night. And on a Monday or a Tuesday night, there'd be 3 people in the audience. And at first I thought, this is going to suck. And then I was like, oh my God, because you could just talk to them.
Yeah.
And then you go, I don't know about you guys, the most material I get is when I'm hanging out with my friends and I tell a story, and suddenly my friends are like, you got to tell it on stage.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Like,
He does that more than anybody, because like we'll do a show and he's like, he's gonna be bored with what he's saying. Even recently when we were in Virginia, he's like, I got a story. I'm just gonna tell it at the end,
Yeah.
and it ends up killing because
Yeah.
it killed at the bar when
that-
we were sitting there with 6 guys.
That's a level of security in yourself that it just can't come without time. I don't
yes,
think.
absolutely.
You know?
Which is why, again, if you have a million followers on TikTok, you
Yeah.
don't have that ability.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't get it. You didn't
get-
You
you
didn't go
didn't earn
out
it.
every night. You didn't sit in front
you
of
didn't
3
pay your
people.
dues. Yeah.
One night at Dangerfields, there were 3 guys in the audience. I got off the stage and sat at the table with them for
Yeah.
a half an hour. And then the MC came out and goes, your time's up. I go, thanks, guys. And they were like, I feel like I was just with a hooker. They were like, we thought you really liked us. I'm like, man.
So
Yep.
when I first started, before I even did stand up, for about a year, I would go around and I would go to Centerfield. What was the place called? The mic spot in Huntington on the second floor. Chesterfields. I would go to Chesterfields and I would catch Keith Anthony do a spot, and I'd catch George Gallo do a spot, and Joey Giarratano do a spot. And I would go around, and I never forget. One night I just came here by myself on a Sunday night. It was pouring raining in the summertime, and Star was headlining, and there was 8 people in the audience. And Truson was sitting in the audience because there was nothing to do. Like all the jobs were done for the night, you know. And Star comes out and he keeps on referring to the crowd as all of you. He kept on referring to them like that. And Truson's dying, and I'm nervous because I'm like, this is going to be really bad.
Yeah.
And he leveled the 8 people in the crowd. Yeah. He leveled them, and he had such confidence that he was going to murder them. And I would have been shitting pickles, obviously. Yeah. You know, obviously, I think as I've done more comedy over the years, I have more confidence in front of a smaller crowd. But I still feel like I need the safety net of a bigger crowd, where you probably don't feel that.
Back in, 90 maybe, I saw Bill Hicks at the Carolines at the Seaport on a Sunday night, and there were only like 12 people in the audience. And he got up and said, I've had more people in my bed, I'm just saying. And he did an hour to 12 people. And at one point he even said, just ask me questions. And we were asking him questions, and he would just go. And it was the most amazing. And I was so new to comedy.
Yeah.
And I remember going, oh my. And I ended up opening for him years later at Jimmy's Comedy Alley. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I go, I saw you at Caroline's. There were only 2. And he remembered the show.
Oh, really?
He said, yeah, I remember that show. How could he not? you know. But I remember that to me was like, wow.
Yeah.
So take that wow factor over the years from comics that you saw at the beginning to comics that you work with. Who has or still gives you the wow when you see them perform? Is there anyone to this day?
Keegan.
Like, I mean, you have, like, for me, it's no secret. I talk about it since the day I started. Keith Anthony is the end all and be all for me. When I first started, I left the brokerage one night with a almost an aneurysm from laughing so hard.
Right.
I think he's the top of the mountain. Tell me a couple of names that maybe even people don't know that you've worked with or.
Well, Cola.
Yeah.
DeVito.
Yep.
One guy that I've really watched just blow up and blossom from day one almost, and we weren't good friends, but now we are. Is Roach?
Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
dude, he's the one of
wow.
He's one of the top people I think of when you ask a question like that.
And he really learned.
That's yours. That's for you. Yeah. No, I'm saying for Roach is for you.
Roach, Burke.
Okay,
Burke's another one.
Brilliant.
I know, but
genius.
he's an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, I love Burke, but where you going with that?
Yeah, no.
The best.
His thing
I
on
love
guns,
him.
his bit on guns
Yeah, Matt
is
Burke.
the most amazing bit
Yeah.
I have. It's just so smart and funny.
Smart.
And you don't know where he stands at the end of it.
That's
you
right.
don't. That to me is brilliant.
Or the Turks, how he feels about the Turks.
Tom Daddario, too, is another guy that blows me away.
You got to remember something. Guys like Daddario, I helped him get started.
Yeah.
And I forget that. He tells... I just worked with him a few weeks ago. He's telling everyone, this guy got me in with Linda Rowe, and that changed everything for me. I was working every week. Jim Norton.
Yeah.
Jim Norton was...
He's got great stories about him.
Yeah.
Norton and Voss used to do work together.
Voss was established. Voss is just wow. Voss is great. When I started, Voss was established, and he's like 2 years older than me.
Yeah, he's only like 60.
He's not that old, you know. And you go, my God, like what? But I started late,
right?
You know,
yeah.
Cole was only a year older than me, but he was established when I started. You know,
yeah.
But Voss, and I used to help run the open mics at Rascals in New Jersey, and Norton started coming around. And I remember, and I tell young guys who go, oh, I want to be Jim Norton. I'm like, when Jim Norton started, he had a 10-minute bit about London Bridge is falling down. He didn't start.
Clean, yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. You don't start being irreverent. You start learning how to do the process.
Sure.
And then you figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And what, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's... Not everybody can be Jim Norton, and they shouldn't be. And that's what I hate when young comics try and be.
I wanted to be filthy when I started.
Did you?
One of the people probably told me you'll drop a couple of those jokes.
Yeah,
and because when you start, that people are going to want to hire new comics that are working clean because you're emceeing shows. Nobody wants this filthy MC to come up and set that kind of tone for the show.
That's right. Richie, what does it mean to you? Like, you always spoke with reverence talking about Joey Cola. I know, I've heard you talk about him many times. But when you hear people talking about you like that now, all these years later, what does that mean to you?
I don't know that, as nice as it is, I don't think anybody can talk about me the way that I talk about
Not even
Cola.
being joking around. He's like my Joey Cola.
Well, seriously, like he, you've done so much for him, from his confidence level to helping him write jokes to actually giving him jokes that you wrote that you didn't want to give him. So ultimately, you really are his Joey Cola. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
but is it humility that makes you say, you know what, I don't even want to think about that? Or
well, if you ask Joey Cola, Richie Burns, he'd go, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
No, Richie did it all himself. Yeah. Minervini, who's the godfather
of everybody,
everything in Long Island.
Yeah,
I saw him a few months ago at Huntington Film Center.
Sure.
And he did an interview after, and they were interviewing him. They were naming all the comics that got their start through Richie at Eastside Comedy, and Richie was sitting there going, I had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And that's just an out-and-out lie.
When you think of it, you're like, oh, Eddie Murphy, Bob Nelson,
right.
Kevin James.
I mean, when you have heard Kevin James go on many podcasts and many TV shows, and he will say, I am here because of Richie Minervini.
Yeah. And Richie goes, no, he isn't.
Isn't that
no,
something?
No, he isn't. And they're both right. You know, I mean, they're both right, and I get why Kevin
Sure.
feels that way, and
Yeah.
but to some degree, he's, you know, because I get it. I get why he would feel that way, and say I get it because I feel that way about Cola. You know,
Yeah.
and I think everybody needs that person. You know, I think that most of us have that person where there's someone when
You have Rich Walker.
Correct. I have Tony Walker.
Tony Walker.
And you have Richie Byrne, which is really phenomenal.
That's why
And,
he's nowhere.
Yeah.
And we're the same.
You could. I mean, think about the Long Island guys. You could have, like,
I know,
Right.
you know,
exactly.
There were
you
so
picked
many.
me. I mean,
Yeah.
what a
Really.
shame. What an idiot you are.
Hey,
No, but we
I see Carrie Karavis getting people
Yeah,
work all
Carrie
over the
gets
place. I'm
people
like,
work,
you know,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Maybe-
Mario's a viral
If
sensation.
you put on a bow tie, I could have helped you.
Yeah, unbelievable. You know, it's interesting, and you know, we're at a little bit over an hour. I had. Oh, okay. What's
You're
interesting,
doing a great job.
I'm good at this.
Yeah,
I am really good
wow.
at this. Yeah, I am good at it. What's
You-
interesting to me,
I don't know why you're here.
No,
I don't know.
we work
Am
well
I?
together. We work well.
Yeah,
I'm like
He
his
does-
security monkey.
What's interesting to me is that I had a whole page of stuff that I wanted to go over tonight, and we totally went off script for the most part because I am fascinated by stand-up comedy. I'm fascinated by stand-up comics. I had Sandy Hackett in here, you know, on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I could have asked him. It was really stuff about Buddy that I wanted to know, just because from the time I was 10 years old, my late dad was showing me videos of Buddy Hackett, and Sandy was telling us a lot of stories about Buddy and how he used to wake up and he'd have Richard Pryor in his kitchen, Sandy would. So the reason why we so eloquently went off script here is because I can ask comics questions forever. Because even now when I perform, it's very surreal for me. I never really was meant to be a stand-up comic, or I never wanted to be.
Telling me.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus
But
Christ.
I'm fascinated by it. Again,
I think it's great that you figured that out, though, and I wish other people would.
yeah. Yeah, but it's funny. He does speak very irreverently about you. I don't even know, like, when I've asked you over the years, like, who does it for you, and you always say Richie. Like, you don't. There are other people that you like.
Listen, I've done 1,000 shows with Richie, and
Yeah.
I still enjoy why. Because you know what it is, and I tell Downey the same thing all the time. I know their acts front to back, but I
Yeah.
like watching the audience see them for the first
So
time.
isn't that something that it's not even anymore about watching Richie's act? It's watching how people respond to his act that does it for you.
Yeah, especially and
That's fascinating.
Downey too. Like, if you ever noticed just Downey, like I could just
Yeah.
sit there and watch people figure out what the hell to make a Downey. Like, is this guy gay? Is he trans? Is
Right,
he-
all
is
of the
he-
above.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, when I took my best friend Dave to Saratoga that time to watch Downey, one of the reasons why I didn't want to get up on stage was because I didn't want to be in the green room. I wanted to be with Dave
Yeah.
to watch him react to Downey. And I looked at him to see, and Downey's like kind of no other comic also. He's kind of in that, I don't even really know how you
different,
describe
yeah.
him,
He's
really.
a performer.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to be Elvis when I go up there. I want to do the this stuff.
I just
And
like the surprise. I
And
like when
I
I see
kinda-
someone do that.
I kind of took that from James, the owner of the club here. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't really watch the comics. I watch the audience watching the comics.
Oh,
if
that's interesting.
If I see somebody banging on the table laughing, I know that's a comic that I'm going to start using.
Yeah.
And then guys that I worked with that are headliners, I look at the audience watching them now.
One of the first times I saw Keith, this was back at the brokerage, like in 2010. I was sitting at a table with me, Haft, and you remember that very pretty woman that he used to date. Keith
Haft?
used to date. No, that would be a man that he would date.
Haft
No,
did.
but Keith Anthony had this gorgeous girlfriend. Her name was like Gwendolyn or Candace or some sort
Yeah.
of traditional name.
She was really
And
nice.
She was beautiful and great. But
remember her name.
I watched her, and she had probably seen him at that point how many times? Many times. And she was gasping for air like all of us were. So you're right. That's a really great point that you make. That no,
Thank God.
you did it, Mikey. You did it. You definitely did it.
When I was talking about Rascals doing the open mics with Norton,
Yeah.
Downey was there too.
Oh,
Is
really?
that right?
Downey and his brother.
That's right.
Oh, right.
brother
His
was a
brother
comic.
started
Patrick.
together with him. That's
Pat.
right.
Yeah, and
Pat.
we all hung out, and Downey was there.
So that's why, like, for a lifer like you, the diner stories and the road stories, like, there's no amount of money that you could ever put on that.
No,
it doesn't matter that you're not a millionaire. It doesn't matter. You're fine. You're doing well. You're happy. You're married. You're doing okay. But that stuff for someone who's not a comic, honestly, to not ever understand what it is to have a 3-hour diner session or a crazy green room session, I can never. And I don't perform nearly as much as you do. I don't perform a lot anymore, but I still have memories like that where I'll talk about them forever, and I just don't think you can put a number on that, a dollar amount on that.
There used to be upstate New York used to have clubs everywhere, man.
Yeah, you talking Catskills? You mean like that?
No,
area, or?
I'm talking Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
To Watertown.
Okay.
Across to Buffalo, down to Rochester. I mean, everywhere.
And they're no longer, or they're not?
Most of them are gone.
Okay. What about the Syracuse? There was a club in Syracuse for a long time.
Yeah. And I think there might be one now.
Syracuse Funny Bone.
Funny Bone
now, but this was Wise Guys.
Okay.
And I even looked at an apartment in Syracuse because I was up there so much. It was like, why am I coming back and forth?
Yeah. Wow.
But the point is, Syracuse was an hour from Watertown.
Yeah.
Okay, Watertown. It was actually Alex. It was actually. I can't. Why am I blanking on it? It wasn't Watertown. It was. God, I was there all the time. But then Alex Bay had a boat that went out on the bay, and they did comedy, and that was only 20 minutes from Sackett's Harbor, and it was right next to Watertown. So like you'd find out who was working where, and we'd all get together. Yeah. Like that was such a cool time.
Man.
You wouldn't, or like say I was doing. There were times like you'd have a Thursday night private gig, and then you're doing the club on Saturday. For some reason, the Friday is off. So the other guys, and you and the other comic will drive down, and they don't even know you're coming. Like you go see John DeCrosta or Buddy Fitzpatrick, and like, oh, you want to get up? But and the next thing you know, like it's like those were great nights, man. I miss those.
You don't
days.
get that so much anymore. And even the green room hangs are so much different, like on Long Island or on the road than like in the city. I hate green room hangs in the city. The city comics suck
I don't
in the green room.
They're
either in and out, or then they don't hang, or it's just like the subway, and then this, and then
they're too cool for
them.
school.
They're too cool for school. They don't want to talk comedy.
Yeah.
Moody McCarthy called him. He's a downtown comic. He's one of those downtown.
Yeah, exactly.
I know exactly what that attitude.
Yeah.
Of, I don't really want to talk to you.
But here it's like we hang out in a green room, we bust each other's chops for 3 hours. We go to a diner. Like I'm going to a diner with like Peter Bales and Richie Minervini and Mitchell Walters one night. Like that's I'm listening to them talk about Sam Kinison and shit like that. Like it's great.
That's crazy.
And Mitchell Walters always made you pay.
Exactly.
Or pay off a gambling debt.
Pay off
or
a gambling
may rest
debt,
in peace.
Mitch was great. He would call me with horses.
Oh yeah.
He would. Hey man, in Yonkers, the 7th race, or all right, thanks, Mitch.
Yeah,
that's amazing. The green room hangs are definitely different nowadays. When I started in 2010, my first shows would be those Thursday, Sunday nights here at Governor's for the most part, and I didn't go in. I didn't say a lot, but I would be in there, and it would be like. Almost every Thursday, Sunday would be Monty, Starr, Crompier, Roach, Mick Thomas, Burke, all of them, not just some of them. It would be all of them, and it would be. Those shows were. People would tell me like, "Oh, that's so much better than the headliner we saw on Saturday from the city." I'm like, "These are the best shows," and those green rooms.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was just.
But with him the other night.
Those green room hangs were killer. Like
they were great.
Yeah.
And now comics are so sensitive. You bust their chops and like, oh, he's so mean and blah, blah,
yeah.
blah.
And that was always the thing with comics.
Yeah.
The meaner you were, the more you liked the person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of. I mean, I don't know. We had that whole woke thing kind of. It didn't just enter comedy on stage. I think it entered comedy off stage. You got to watch what you say. And you got to be careful. It's like, come on, man.
It's funny you say that though. The more you burn someone, the more you like them.
Yeah.
When I started, I did not realize that. And Monty said something to me in the green room, and I saw him. He came up to me in the bar. He's like, "You took that the wrong way, didn't you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I can see that in your face. That like." He's like, "Dude, I like you. Like, and we became good friends, and we've been good friends since then. 14 years later. But I was a little bit like, fuck, like that. I'm not like I didn't handle it the way I was supposed to handle it, I guess. But in turn, he's like, no, I like you, man. That's why I'm talking to you that way.
Right.
So, and I'm sure that you guys have had plenty of those moments.
Nobody was Voss Voss was.
Brutal. Voss I'm at the brokerage with him a couple of months ago, and he's making fun of every person that walks into the club, and then Fat Jay starts walking in, and he didn't realize Fat Jay was a comic, and Voss goes, "Keegan, do my friggin' fans know when to stop eating?" And I'm like, no, Jay, no, Rich, that's a comic. And he goes, oh, hey, you, come over here. You're a comedian. How long you been doing this? Jay's like, 4 or 5 years. And Rich Voss goes, okay, here's $5. Can you go to Dunkin' Donuts over there and get me a coffee?
He did the same goddamn. I'm just going to say to you, that's what he did the same thing to me 14 years ago. He's like, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, I don't know, 6 months. He's like, go to Dunkin' Donuts, get me a coffee.
Exactly.
That must be his.
Even off stage, he's a hack.
Yeah, really.
I'll tell you a funny story. This, to me, was the ultimate. It's like 1991, 92. I'm really new. I'm at Rascals, and Voss is there, and he's with his daughters, who are now
30-something years old. Yeah,
kids.
Yeah.
They were little girls. They were like her age, right? And they're both standing there, and they're bored, and he's talking to me, and he goes, "Girls, this is Richie Byrne. Remember Daddy told you about Richie Byrne?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, Rich Voss told his kids about me?" And he goes, "What? Remember Daddy?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they go, "What did Daddy say?" And they both look up and go, "Hack."
I love it.
And I realized that he had
prepped them.
He prepped them to no matter who he said.
I love that.
They were going to look up with that Voss face and go, "Hack."
Juliana, remember what I used to say about Richie Byrne?
God.
Hack.
Yeah.
Remember what I used to say about Richie Byrne?
What
I already hate Jeff Bozzi.
Whoa, hey. Easy, girlfriend. Jeez, Louise.
Get in line.
Wow.
For those who didn't hear, she goes, "I already hate Jeff Bozzi."
No.
And it's funny because he's the only audience we have right now.
Yeah.
That is funny.
On that note, Jules, that was great.
That was great.
That's where you get the biggest laugh on the night.
I love it. That was great. Richie Byrne, we love you, man. We thank you very much for coming. Before we go, you have anything in the clubs coming up you want to promote? Anything? What do you have? What's going on the schedule?
Nothing in Long Island.
Nothing.
I mean,
out of state you're going to be?
We have listeners all over the world.
Yeah. Tell us. Go ahead.
I'm going to be in... you know what I'm doing? I'm doing Helene's Room.
Oh, nice.
Jersey.
Winery.
Old York or?
I think it's
Old York Cellars? Yeah, that's a great room. Yeah,
I love Helene.
Good.
I love Helene. Yeah. So
all right,
I'm doing that this next Thanksgiving weekend, Saturday.
All right, so anyone who is in New Jersey, Old York Cellars, and what part of Jersey is that, Mikey?
Ringo's, right?
Yeah,
Ringo's, New
Ringo's,
Jersey. Maybe
right.
I'll come to Raleigh. I'm awful that whole weekend.
Good.
Old York Cellars, that's what I'm doing. Why don't you come with me?
Yeah, well, it would be nice for her to put us both together, but
Yeah, that'd be.
What do you got, Mikey?
I got this weekend. I'll be Friday night. I'm at the Landmark Theater in Port Washington.
I love it.
Doing an autism fundraiser.
Okay.
And then Saturday I will be. I'm at the Millennium Boxing and Fitness Gym in the Bronx.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because when they're booking fitness gyms,
yes.
They know who they're...
sometimes the jokes just write themselves.
Exactly. Great show. Nico White is closing.
Oh, Nico's a killer.
Nico's awesome. Young colored guy.
He's not. He's an African-American idiot.
I didn't realize he was African.
God in heaven. Okay. What else?
Great show. And
I'm cutting you off.
December 12th.
December 12th, we have a big show coming up. I'll post the link. I guess we'll both do it tomorrow. The Herschy and the Keegs show is going to be going live. And when I say that, we're not doing a live podcast. Mikey's going to be doing stand-up. I'm going to be doing stand-up. We have our boy Friday, Jake Chapman. We have Mike Kurz. Mike Delaquella. Is that his name?
Mike Delaquella.
And Hugh Van Well. And Keith Anthony, who obviously you guys know how I feel about him. He will be headlining the show. That's 12/12 at the Brokerage, so we expect you guys to be there. And we will end our show with Tony talking about the Knock 'em Dead comedy traveling road show, whatever he calls that thing.
The day after you guys come to the Giggle Room, Mike Bacchetti and friends with the Evil Twins of Comedy. Mark Riccadonna and Don Jameson.
When? Great show.
The Giggle Room, 12/13.
Wow.
Yep. I'll be doing 5 minutes, and then after the show, Don Sill is coming on stage, and we're doing a Q&A with all the comedians. That's going to be fun.
gonna be
Oh, I got to come by. Right now, I'm off.
Yes, you
doing
do.
5
Tony
minutes
will be here.
after the show.
What's that? I didn't hear
You
you.
doing 5 minutes after the show?
Hopefully,
Is that what you said?
Probably 5 minutes
Hopefully.
No,
outside.
it's a
Can
great
I
show.
park
I'll
your car?
probably come hang.
Cool.
Yeah, me too.
And then
well, I love Rick Adana, and I
Right.
love Jameis. Jameis and I.
That's a killer show.
And
Mike
Mike Boschetti.
Mike Boschetti. Hello, Rich. He used to call me begging. Hello, Rich. This is Mike Boschetti. I'm
That's
like,
what Mike, he tells Mike all the time.
everybody
that.
knows it's you.
I love it.
Exactly.
Hello, Rich.
Great shows all abound. Please make sure you support Governor's Comedy Clubs, McGuire's Comedy Club, The Brokerage, govs.com for all your comedy tickets. 12/12 at the Brokerage is a big one for me and Mikey, so hop aboard there. Support all of our sponsors. We thank you guys, and we will see you not next week. Oh, no, we will. We'll be back
you
on
people
Monday
next
night.
week, yeah.
We're not going to be here Tuesday, Thanksgiving Eve, or 2 days before, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll be here Monday
I know
night,
Thanksgiving fell
special
on a
time, 9:30 p.m. We will be here live in studio with Mr. Christopher Monty. See you guys next week. Thanks for watching.